Audit from the New York City Comptroller's office focuses on COVID costs.
Yeah, the city's fiscal watchdog found that taxpayer dollars were wasted due to poor management and a lack of oversight at COVID testing sites across the city. And this comes on the heels of last week's announcement, which found that sweeps conducted by the city did little to decrease the homeless population. Needless to say, this is putting him, the comptroller, at odds with the Adams administration. Comptroller Brad Lander joining us this morning to address these issues and more. So good to see you, Comptroller.
Good morning. Nice to be back.
There's lots to get to this morning. So let's begin with the latest findings. We've got the lack of oversight at these COVID testing sites, what exactly it means and what you found.
Yeah. Look, emergencies are tough. They
Right.
needed, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene needed to move quickly to stand up COVID testing and vaccination. So they use what's called emergency procurement appropriately. But when you do that, you still need to pay attention to cost. And we found they just didn't have good cost controls or planning in place. So the cost of vaccinations ranged from $169, not so bad, to $2,423 because those sites were overstaffed. Not too many people were coming in, but we were still paying the vendor. And on tests, too, the cost ranged from $200 to $900.
Wow.
City needed better cost controls in place to say to the vendor, move folks to where they're needed. We can't pay for folks who are just standing around all day.
Is there anything being put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again?
So we also issued a letter to all agencies that do emergency procurement, because we're still doing quite a lot of it. Asylum seeker shelter and services, some work on Rikers is done through emergency procurement. We put out a memo on best practices, how you can still do bidding and get cost competition, and then oversee your vendors to make sure they're spending taxpayer dollars wisely, even in an emergency.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't have another thing that we're going to need something like this again.
Unfortunately, we're in a time when we are, though. We're going to have more climate events, so we have to get
I'm
into
in a pandemic, but yes.
habit. Well, yes, but we have a lot of emergencies. We can spend money wisely even when using emergency procurement.
Let's talk about the homeless sweep, because that's a big story that we've been closely following, right? A lot of people paying a lot of attention to this. It's a lot of headlines. Your audit finding that some of the encampments are back, and that despite the money spent on social services, the city only found permanent housing for a handful of people. I think the number was about 2 or 3 people.
3 people out of 2,308 folks who were removed during the sweeps. Only 3 got permanent housing. So that means 99.9% are still homeless.
Okay.
But the Adams administration, they're disagreeing with you, saying that they did help a lot more than what you
They're not really disagreeing. They're pointing to other programs that we agree work better. They have expanded safe haven and stabilization beds, which are less bureaucratic than shelters, and so more people did go. And they've started this new but very small, promising pilot program called Streets to Housing, which actually get people housing, which is what they need to get off the streets. And we agree those programs work. But the sweeps failed, and we should end them.
So when they're saying that homeless folks have accepted services 6 times more than before, that's what you're referring to?
What they mean is, hey, we got these other programs that are working, not that the sweeps got anyone housing, because they didn't.
Okay. Because the sweeps overall, are you calling for those just to be over, and have you had a conversation with the mayor about that?
Yes, I mean, the sweeps are counterproductive. You know, if you need to try to help someone who's got a mental health issue or got a substance abuse problem get connected to services, forcibly removing them, taking all their stuff and telling them to go somewhere else doesn't help get you closer to giving. They're going to still be on the street. They're going to find their way back to another encampment. Well, so yes, we praised those other programs. We said, Mr. Mayor, Department of Homeless Services, let's do more of Streets to Housing, more stabilization and safe haven beds. Let's end the sweeps.
Can we switch gears real quick and talk about the migrant crisis? Apparently, I mean, the migrants that are coming here aren't getting the services in time before their time runs out.
Yes, you have 1 year after you arrive in the United States to file your application for asylum. And if you do, 6 months later, you can get work authorization and work legally. But if you don't file it within 1 year, you go out of status and become undocumented. So we need to surge legal services and assistance to help people file those asylum applications. Otherwise, the crisis is going to endure.
But how much more do you think the city needs to invest to make that happen?
So we proposed $70 million. Unfortunately, no new money was put in the budget. They have this program enlisting law firms to work pro bono to help. And that's a great idea. But without the city doing the outreach, doing the screening, making sure people actually get connected, it's just not going to work.
The city says they have $1.4 billion to provide these kind of services, for these legal services.
There's nowhere near. Like what was in the budget last year for legal service assistance to immigrants overall was about $60 million. And that goes mostly to people who have been here a long time already.
Yeah.
Very few new dollars are being put yet to legal assistance for asylum seekers.
So the migrant crisis obviously is another headline maker right here. You've been criticized by the mayor not once, but multiple times for not going to Washington, D.C. to ask for more federal dollars. So I want to give you a chance to respond, but I want to play you this. I did ask the first Deputy Mayor Sheena write about it
Oh, I
and then
saw
get
that
your
on
reaction.
Sunday, yeah.
For those who didn't, let's play it.
Controller, and your primary responsibility is the financial health of the city, that should be one of the most important things that you're doing, that you are really beating the drum on this, because it is not the responsibility of the city of New York to really address and care for a national problem.
So the city council, they had a delegation that went down to D.C. asking for more federal dollars. What's your response to that, and do you plan to go to D.C.?
So, mostly it honestly just feels like the mayor wants to get me out of town, and I'm not totally sure what that's about. Maybe he doesn't want more audits like the ones we keep. But no, but that's the controller's job. We partner with the administration on procurement reform. We did a great bond issuance together to save the city money. But it's the controller's job to do these audits when programs aren't working. And yes, absolutely, to stay focused on public dollars and how we're spending them. I've spent a lot of time talking to federal officials because we do need more federal money, and I'll keep saying it loud. But we also need to spend more money on that legal assistance to help people file those applications and get out of shelter. And I've recommended to the mayor that rather than trying to go into court to overturn the right to shelter, let's say if it's a New York State constitutional right, it must apply everywhere in the state, and get other counties and municipalities in the state also providing resources and shelter.
She did go on to say that the relationship with your office is good. Sheena Wright did. Is there a fractured relationship between you and the mayor?
Well, I don't know what to say. I wouldn't do an impression of someone on television. I'm glad he's in New York City. I'm trying to get him out of town. I guess, look, the charter assigns that it's a job of collaboration and oversight, and maybe sometimes that leads to a little bit of tension. We're going to manage and work through it. The job is to care about the city budget and provide effective city services. That can be hard to do. We want to help make sure we do it in the best possible way, and that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Well, Comptroller Brad Lander, thanks for coming in.
Great to be on with you this holiday week. Thank you.
Yeah.